Hey guys, welcome back to another transit talk. So this is a big one as we start to talk about the big expansive energy of Sagittarius. We are entering Sagittarius season 2020, and with that, things do get a lot lighter in their weight, but they do get bigger in scope, if that makes sense. So it's almost like it's less for you on a personal level, and it's more about the collective. We're moving into signs that are far away from the self, the first house or even the fifth house of the personal integrity and desires. We are in mutable fire, which likes to be accessible to all. The mutable signs are known for spreading themselves thin because they like to adapt, they like to change. And you add change plus fire, which is always on the road to bettering itself, changing its location, its job, its purpose. There's a lot of change coming in, and this is the year that we have seen so much already. Most of it so far has seemed negative, but I think, we all understand that there's a revolution taking place, and Sagittarius season can really help inspire us and finally give us a sense of optimism. Through all of this has been extremely hard, especially Scorpio season, probably our last season or period where we felt this shedding process take hold. And that brings out, this very darker aspects of ourselves. There was a lot of people that watched the Scorpio season video, and hopefully that was very illuminating for you guys. And, that season is one every year that brings about a lot of transformation, evolution. And Sagittarius is like, you got this. It's like the first victory lap or indication that you have chosen the right way, so Sagittarius season is very rewarding, and even if it isn't quite what you want, if maybe you didn't really have the tenacity to overcome the Scorpio stuff, which we will find out there is still some planets in that sign, so it's not completely done with us. But the major stuff that has impacted you on a personal level, if you're still at odds with it, expect by the time we get to the new and full moons, which I'm going to talk about in this video, for that to be a lot easier and more rewarding. So, this is going to be a big one to unpack, but it's really nice having the first full season after the election and kind of all the fear that was continually put into that for the last couple of months or years even, over the thought of like things staying the same, and now things really are changing. They're still in ways that we don't quite understand, and they may not be happening as much on a personal level, with Mars and Venus really affecting what we're taking on, and our willpower and the people that support us. Those are still being challenged by those three big planets in Capricorn. So there is still some stuff to go through, but I can already feel the Sagittarius energy stepping in right before Thanksgiving each year. It does this, and it allows us this appreciation. Sagittarius can be very intellectual because they have Aquarius in the third house of the mind, and so they really can take on really broad, expansive concepts, and that vantage point allows us to see how everything is connected, and that things really do have purpose and value and meaning. They're not just things happening to us for no reason. And so when you step into that mindset that the universe is acting through us and vice versa, it really does allow you to become more grateful and a lot more, not necessarily involved in life, but you know, to have a perspective that really helps you understand, you know, and put things in, you know, like a it's kind of hard to almost like translate how a Sagittarius thinks. If you guys have ever met one, some of them can be those especially like spiritual, like meta-human people that just have this like larger than life personality, and it just attracts and it attracts and it attracts good and good and good. And when you know, most of us see that and we're just like, man, do I just live in such like a mundane existence, like where none of this is accessible to me, or is it? And I just don't take it, or I just don't tap into it enough. You know, that's something that'll definitely come across your mind during this time, is like, I definitely see that there's people out there that just do move through life like with this effervescence and this maybe naivety, but they overcome their situations and circumstances and just don't get bogged down by it. You know, Sagittarius is telling us to elevate ourselves, and when we do that, these concerns on the ground level, these things that we fill our days with, aren't as heavy. They aren't as distracting. They aren't as, you know, as restricting. And that is like something that we really need right now, because that stuff we are seeing up close and personal so much. You know, these day-to-day changes in life, and COVID and stay home has just been, you know, it's hard to not think of it as mundane, but there is something much bigger happening outside of all of this. And so that's kind of the energy of what we're walking into here. It will provide us adventures. It will provide us enlightenment, learning. If you are starting, you know, any new studies, whether it's school or just some sort of education, that's very natural this time of year. We feel ready to take on more in our life. Coming out of Scorpio season, we shed things, whether they're literal, physical changes that happen to us, or they are, you know, inner spiritual changes that occur within us. And that power of releasing, you know, it's a choice, and it's something that we're doing with intention. And we see just how more magical like things can be when we use that power. You know, when we're like, okay, enough is enough. This is not doing me any more good. I do not see a future in this. It has consistently held me back. This person is dependent on me. They're not giving enough or as much as I am, you know, and so we just need to part ways. And so Sagittarius is like that initial, like when a snake sheds its skin, that new skin that it feels like this, it's shining, it's shimmery, it just feels youthful again. And it kind of wants to just explore and go to a new place, chart a new course. And that is all Sagittarius energy. It's new, and it just wants more and more and more. So there is a risk with every sign here, and with Sagittarius, we can become addicted to how much we take in, whether it's physically through substances like smoking addictions, drinking addictions, or it's overeating, binge watching, you know, TV. So you have to be mindful of that as well. You know, just because it seems good and it's delicious and exciting doesn't mean that it's an everyday thing that you're adopting into your life. You know, it's like you can't go on an adventure every day, and the more you try to do that, the more you try to have things special, the less special they become. It's kind of like this weird cosmic joke almost. It's just like the more often you do something, the less its payoff or reward is. And so see the fun and exciting stuff that's coming up for you during this season as very necessary opportunities to relax, to enjoy, to explore, to learn, to indulge, but don't make them normal. Don't try to normalize them, because that's when we run the risk of excessive living and excessive habits, which is exactly opposite of what we should be doing right now after just shedding parts of ourselves, you know? So enjoy it, but it's not the way, you know what I mean? It's this kind of, that's the one thing, because I feel like with Sagittarius, it's hard to find problems with it, because in astrology, it really is like this major benefactor. Jupiter, its ruling planet, wherever it is in your chart, just means like there is good stuff to have in that aspect of your life. And so it is really hard to make it out to be a bad guy, but every sign has a pro and con, and we'll see, you know, once we access bigger, expansive, more powerful, some would say, energy, you know, the bigger effect it has when we use it. And so there is this sense of amplification when we look at Jupiter and Sagittarius. And so you have to be careful on what it is that you amplify, because the stuff that you focus on in this season is going to naturally grow. So if it's good stuff, it's going to get bigger, stronger, healthier. If it's bad, it's going to get more chaotic, more distracting, more obsessive, you know? So it's very, very powerful to have the ability to choose. And luckily we're guided by our instincts, because this is a fire season. So we naturally know what is best for ourselves at first glance. We're just channeling some sort of cosmic enlightenment, if you will, that we do with all of the fire signs. And Sagittarius is more so the bigger stuff, the less personal, so the stuff that can really get us where we want to go, or really do the opposite. So yeah, it takes a little while to understand, stuff that is very existential, and you will be zooming out in scope this month. This is something that I like to do a lot with astrology, and I have a good Jupiter placement in my chart, but also my moon in Aquarius is very similar to the Sagittarius nature, that we like to take on a bigger perspective. We don't like to look at things on a personal level, because we feel like it's limited. And while it is necessary for those signs, each sign has its own strengths and weaknesses and focuses, and Sagittarius just likes to be a lot bigger in scope. It likes to be more accessible, so everybody can have a piece. And yeah, so just some side note for the energy there. Now I will talk about how we are starting out this season is going to give us an indication as to kind of what we can expect. So with the sun at 0 degrees, November 21st, Saturday afternoon, we are going to be sextiling Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn, and that is really, really good news, because those are the big three tough energies that are working out their transformation this year. And so if we are aspecting those in a good way, we can expect great things. And so this is really, really good timing. We're eventually going to move out of that sextile as the month goes further, but we're gonna have it for a while. So we will feel energized right away to take on the bigger causes in our lives, especially with work, with these partnerships and commitments that we've had for years and years, and that we are assessing, do we really need them anymore? Has this job really made me feel good, or made me feel like the work I'm doing is impactful or helping the world in big ways? If not, it may be time for you to go, time for it to go, for you to change course. The same can be said of relationships. If you've been with someone for years and years and you're just like, it's not getting any better. I've just stayed in this for so long. It's become just this habit, this routine. There's nothing special. Neither of us are invested or willing to compromise or to even evolve. And so we're still questioning these huge things that have been around forever. You know, and it's not just work and relationships, but anything that you have built up over time. That is Capricorn energy. You know, they've been financial investments, so you may be moving around your savings or having to use it because of COVID, and maybe it's threatened your own personal business or your company, and you've had to use some of your own savings or 401k or who knows. You've had to use unemployment because maybe you've lost your job that you've had for a long time. And so all of these things are just really working out because it almost keeps us tied more to our past. And the less ties and weights that we have to our past, the more ready we will be to take on a brighter future, a freer future, more independence. Because as we step into Aquarius energy, we need to be tied to less things, whether they are people, commitments, investments, you know, material things, or just even internal concepts of like, you know, every time I pursue a relationship or a friendship, you know, I need this and this and this to happen. We're not entering new things in our lives going forward with the same mentality anymore. We're not saying like, you need to check this, this, and this box. We are actually becoming more open, more adaptable, more flexible with what steps into our life. And so that requires rewiring internally, spiritually, physically, and that's what we're seeing in 2020. That's why we've been at home this whole time, because we're seeing our lives up close and we're seeing how much isn't working anymore. Because we can't make this transition in any other way. We can't just step into the future and just be like, I'm ready, without doing any of this deep personal work and letting go and detaching and rewriting, you know, how we govern our lives, how we set rules and boundaries for ourselves and the others around us, how we limit ourselves. That's why this is all happening in Capricorn, because it's how we restrict ourselves, and how the world restricts us, and how that is just no longer, you know, the way we're going. We're using up our resources. You know, there is still so much political divide, turmoil between different countries. It's just like no one's really working together. And that's even in the sense of a personal sense too. We still don't really know how to care for other people around us. We may do things for them. We may buy them gifts. We may listen, but do we actually take the time to try to heal them? Do we really try to help people, or do we just convince ourselves that, you know, we've done enough? You know, like if this is the way that society views us helping somebody or us responding to that the right way, then that's enough for me. That's how we've kind of, we've almost dismissed or accepted, you know, our approach to things and how we handle them. And we're rewriting that book altogether. Aquarius wants us to be of service. It wants us to care about things. It wants us to be less concerned with how things are affecting us personally. Stepping outside of our ego is the only way that we can make the future better for all. And so we're testing if we really do want that or not with all of these movements that we've seen this year. You know, we're seeing, do we really want everyone to have an equal fighting chance of the life that they want? Um, because if there's any hesitation that you have with that, you're going to be dealing with it for a long time. So we're getting this lesson right away that, hey, you need to get on board with where we're going, where the direction of this company, this world is moving. If you don't, this is going to be a problem, you know, and that's why it feels like this business meeting that is just very hard and not very exciting. It's just like, you know, this is the direction. You either do it or, you know, you stay where you are and you hold yourself back. You don't ascend, you don't climb any further. And there's really not much more opportunity for you to grow. And in a sense, that's why we've seen so much death this year. That's why COVID has brought so much of that out, because there are not just literal people that are just refusing to go into the future, but the spiritual sense of where we're all going and how things always do have to be left behind. And sometimes that relates to people, you know, refusal to change, or you can almost think of like energetically, like some people have been on this earth for so long that they wouldn't even know how to change course at this point. And in some ways that may result in getting sick and, heaven forbid, dying. But that's part of it. And I know that's a very scary truth and even concept, that there is like this cosmic churning of lives right now, but that is what's going on. Because the less concepts, ideas, people, relationships, all of these things that hinder us from really opening up and really tapping into a collective consciousness and awareness of what our actions look like and what other people are going through. We've been so limited in our scope, and you can sit next to somebody for years and never fully know what they're thinking or what they're feeling. You know, whether you are willfully ignorant of their emotions, or it's just literally something you've just never been able to do, you know? And so for us to rewire and to be like, no, I do want to understand what is going on with you. I do want to see how I can help you. Like, that's a really big change. Because we've all been trapped in, you know, this image of the self, and that's the only thing that propels us forward, is how to be successful, you know, how to have this, and this, and that equals, you know, a good life. And that formula has just been proven wrong again and again and again. I mean, you have so many multimillionaires, celebrities, artists that will constantly get on the air and say, this looks like a great life, but trust me, it doesn't change. The problems that you have, they follow you, and they even amplify when you have more. You know, when you are making more, when you're of a bigger fame, we have more attention, notoriety. It is just it's a different look. But our perception is that, you know, we want greatness, we want fame, we want, you know, excessive money that we don't have to worry about. And, you know, we are going to be basically counterattacking all of these notions that we've had on how to be successful. And again, that's why it's in the sign of Capricorn, because that's how we've all worked towards something in life, is career, house, you know, it's materialistic things. It's being connected to people so you can, you know, trade goods, or, you know, you not have to pay as much in taxes or something like that. And yeah, it's really interesting. So just a deep talk, because, you know, this energy is much more expansive, and I think we'll all get a glimpse of that, of like, whoa, like this really does go a lot farther than just me. Um, and, you know, really appreciating that I have this role to play in the future and it's already starting in my life, and how exciting and empowering that can be. As hard as it is to let go of concerns and, you know, reprogram how we are, um, ultimately, you know, you're only going to be better suited and more capable going forward, because there's a lot of transitions that will happen. We have not seen the last of them. You know, this is just one. You know, stepping into the age of Aquarius, that's years and years. Like, it's not just something that happens in the span of 1 year and one COVID instance. Like, you know, we're talking about everything changing, like industry, ways of life, you know, ways to approach relationships, cultures, barriers. Like, there's so much. So, anyways, not to overwhelm anybody, but just a reminder that, you know, the stuff that you're feeling so intensely and so heavily, and the reasons why your life has been so dramatically altered this year is because of all this. Because what is happening light years away is also happening within us, you know? And so just to remind you that there is meaning, there is connection to something bigger. You know, we have a hard time seeing it, and even thinking that our lives are more than what they're appearing to be. But I think the more and more you look into this stuff, and the more and more it helps you and does solidify that, like, yes, there is meaning to it, and we're always on a journey to understand the full scope. And it would take a lot to have the full story, but we take the pieces that do work with us, that do resonate with us, that do get our attention, and we keep going. That's what all this is about. I mean, that's what life is about. And it's nice to know that there is some universal language that we are becoming more and more familiar with in this process. So yeah, so big stuff. So let's narrow our focus down a little bit. So the two moon events that are happening this season is going to be the full moon in Gemini. That's going to be on November 30th. So a few days after Thanksgiving. This will be happening at 8 degrees. So if you've got 8 degrees of anything in your chart, pay attention to whatever that planet or a celestial body is. It's going to have a bigger impact on you during that full moon period. And full moon in Gemini, you know, wherever 8 degrees Gemini is in your chart is also going to be a major focus for you. So do some homework, reach out to me if you'd like a reading for that, and how to make the best use of that full moon. So what's exciting about this is that this is going to be, like, I feel like the first full moon, or new moon even, that has some really, really positive aspects this year. We have come out of our retrogrades. We're still working on Neptune, and Uranus is going to be the very last one, which is ironic because we're stepping into Aquarius energy and that's its ruling planet. But I guess that also makes sense that that's the last one to change, because that's the one that is going to be the biggest shift. So it is taking the most time, and it is in the very slow, stubborn sign of Taurus. So, you know, coming out of these other ones, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars recently, very exciting. You know, we are feeling this shift. We're just like, yes, I can say yes to things again. I can do it. I can accomplish things. I can move less hindered. It's almost like, you know, walking down a road with so many obstacles, and like each one being its own retrograde and stopping you for days, for weeks, for months on end. You're still trying to solve like a math problem or trying to navigate around a detour. As each one turns direct, you find a solution. You know, you are still doing the work. It doesn't mean that just because it went direct, everything is easier, but it's almost like, oh, now you know how to work with it. You've adapted, you've changed, you've found out something that it was trying to show you, when at first all you saw was a problem. And so that's really with every that's why I actually love retrogrades, because afterwards we have this clarity, this ease, this kind of like enlightenment. And sometimes they're smaller and sometimes they're bigger, but every time it's more empowering, because it's like, oh wow, I did it, I got through it, you know. And that's kind of all you can do. And a fire season is perfect for that. You know, fire signs come up through obstacles and challenges and antagonisms very easily, because when you're in the spotlight, when you have attention, when you are in a leadership position, or when you are creative, you attract, you know, admirers, and you attract people that want to disdain your work, that want to bring down your confidence, you know, your sense of independence, because they have ulterior motives. They feel envious that maybe they're not that way, or they feel restricted in their own life, that they could never live the way that you do. And so it brings out this natural competitive energy. And luckily, Sagittarius, there's not many people that can stand in their way, because it's so big, it's so expansive. It's like, you know, you're an elephant and everybody else is like, I don't know, like not a dingo, but like a hyena, you know. It's like, it would take a whole pack of hyenas to take down one elephant. Like, good luck, you know. So it's really encouraging to know that, like, yes, you can do it, and you're larger than you think you are. You just have to access this inner sense of like, oh yeah, I've got this strength within me. It doesn't always look that way, but like, there are some periods throughout the year and throughout the shifts and everything where it's just easier to grab hold of and just be like, oh yeah, piece of cake, I got it, thanks universe. So that's the energy. And of course, around the holidays, that's why we become so much more appreciative of people in our lives, and we want to give, and we want to, you know, just kind of make things a little different than normal. You know, it's no longer our daily routine and our structure. Things are more festive, they're more decorated, they're more colorful, they're sparkly, they're delicious, you know, like all of these things. Like, it's just more and more and more. And so the more we move through the Sagittarius energy, the juicier and the more adventurous almost life tends to get. And so it's just really cool stuff. And I'm so excited. I'm just talking about it so much. But let's get into the brass tacks of this. So let's kind of see maybe what the deeper purpose is. I'm going to try to keep this part quick. And then before I get into that, the new moon in Sag is going to be happening on December 14th at 23 degrees. So again, 23, if that's a big one for you, that is a very big number for me personally. Look at where it is in your chart and what planets or bodies it's affecting, and where 23 degrees of Sagittarius is, that's where you can expect that huge beginning in the new moon period, December 14th. So, you know, about 10 days before Christmas, we have an opportunity to really take on something big and impactful in our lives, whatever that may be. And it's also conjunct Mercury. Mercury will be in Sagittarius and very close by during that new moon. And so in a lot of ways, it'll be not just the relationships in our lives, the people we're familiar with, getting on better terms with them. Jupiter wants to improve, it wants to strengthen, but also how we think, taking on this really existential thought process where we start to see our place in the grand scheme of things, and that like we really are writing our own stories, we just tell ourselves otherwise. And so we'll have this inspiration before going into the really challenging energy of Capricorn, and being at a place where all of this deep work is happening, being so close to it, we need this final dose of like, you got this, or like, yes, you can. And that's what Sag season is going to do for us. It's also going to be setting off a solar eclipse during that new moon. So really, really watch out for that. I think I'll make a special edition transit talk for the solar eclipse. Eclipses, they bring much more potent energy than even a new or a full moon. And some full moons, it's like hard to imagine the energy could be stronger. But as we know, during the summer with Black Lives Matter and then trans lives and everything that was going on with states having closures on around COVID and everything, all that was activated during eclipse season. And so yeah, it does carry some weight with it. And that's just one example, So really exciting stuff there. And then I have something written here. I think okay, no. So I think that's it. So I'm just going to draw some cards here and see kind of what we can sum up with this energy. I really don't think we have time to go through every sign. And I'm always like evaluating how helpful that can be when we have such a big energy to work with. So let's see what few cards we get for this season, 2020 Sag season. Oh yeah, perfect. That's great. Oh my gosh. Look at that. The World. So this is what you want to see when it's all going as planned. It's all, or you didn't even maybe necessarily know there was a plan, but it all makes sense. It's all being sent out. It's all being received. The attention, the admiration. This is the ultimate card to show us that like we've done the work, we get the rewards. 2020 has been a bitch, and like, hey, here's some presents. This is not only just presents around Christmas time, but there's a present of appreciating yourself, working with all this energy and getting through it, and just survival. That's the World card. And so there's going to be a lot of people that are stepping into a bigger spotlight. The World gives you more attention, whether, it's at work, in creative endeavors, wherever you go, you'll feel like there's this need to connect, not just with people, but with your physical surroundings. I mean, this is even travel, which is all Jupiter Sagittarius energy that I haven't even mentioned yet. It's exploring. So there's this huge sense of adventure that comes when we've been through a big period, a big transition in life, because the World comes at the end of the major arcana. So this is our journey summarizing it all up, putting it all into perspective and saying, okay, here's your treat, here's your winnings, here's your rewards, here's this new opportunity, this new way of life. And so with the World, naturally, we have this broader perspective. Like I was talking about with Sagittarius, we have a big way of looking at things. We're not trapped in our personal viewpoints, in our personal motives. We are into something that's more collective, more expansive. And of course, the World card comes up. This is perfect. I don't need anything else other than this card. And you won't either. You'll find that this is the energy that you need. This is the hope. This is the optimism. This is just giving you all the answers, because in essence, this card is everything. It's not just about ending a journey, but this is seeing the journey up to this point and then so much more. And also, while the bird is the only cloud that is white, because we've stepped out of the personal ego, our materialism, and our social connections, our interpersonal relationships. And we're just like, those things just aren't my concern right now. you know, I'm high in the sky. I'm soaring above. I am really just not getting brought into all of these mundane things that keep me grounded and maybe feeling unsuccessful or stretched thin. You know, it's like I'm just letting go. So whether you guys are going to be moving, whether you guys are going to be taking trips, connecting to new places and people and experiences, you know, there's a lot of change in the air. And, you know, this is a great reminder that you've done all you can. And so do the transition, make the change, because there will be great things and a new journey to begin. I mean, life is a continual journey. It's, you know, one chapter or one novel ends, but you start the next in the series. And so don't resist it. Don't resist, you know, these things that are opening up, because it's necessary for our evolution and what's been going on this whole year, that, you know, we really get this energy. So the world is watching, not just you, but the world will be being watched during this time. This is also an indication that big things will be happening worldwide, not just in your own personal life. And, you know, to some extent, you will need to move around to better access them or to get a closer look. And so this piques our curiosity about, like, okay, you know, it's like, you know how that like sense of you getting the reward and whatever is just like the event and everything is never quite as fulfilling as like those little self moments that you get when you're just like, whoa, I can look at myself and just be like, I did that. I got through that, you know? It's great that other people want to join in my success and camaraderie and hold me up and lift me up and motivate each other. And it's almost like these larger than life moments that happen to us, and we want them to be shared and to be expressed, but at the same time, there's also little moments for ourselves where we take a second look at ourselves, a double look in the mirror, and we're just like, whoa, look at you. Look what you've done, and look how great it all is. That's really the really powerful, deep energy of this card and just Sagittarius season. I mean, that's why there's so many people with this sign that just have this way of seeing the world in this expansive and beautiful, adventurous way. And so I get very, not poetic, but very encouraged whenever I see that energy present itself. It's something that matches a lot with my chart, but it's harder for me to access for myself. You know, and so it's just this really great lifting sense that like things are going to be taken care of. There's this cosmic way in the universe that it just makes everything make sense. As long as we do the work, as long as we see what we need to see along the way, you can't go wrong, you know? You really have to veer off course hard time to mess this up. So this is a great, great reminder and encouragement that like it's coming, hold tight, keep doing what you're doing, and just have faith that the grass really is greener, and Sagittarius season is going to be getting us closer to our evolution, and the excitement of Aquarius energy. So really cool. Not quite how I intended to do the video, but you know, things don't necessarily go the way that they're planned this season. So, you know, really tell yourself that if you're just like, okay, that wasn't exactly the plan or what we were going to do, but the change was so inviting, was so easy, was so natural that I just went along with it. And look what I found, look what I said, look what happened. It was just something bigger that just came into my life at the right moment. So yes, feel the magic. Great stuff. If you guys want a personal reading of any kind, please reach out to me. Instagram, Tarot with Tyler, same name, trying to keep it simple for y'all. And follow along on there. You get free weekly tarot readings, as well as some little mini posts as to the different astrology aspects that are happening, which is great to have on that platform, and this be for the deeper talks. And yeah, just stay tuned. There is a lot still on the horizon in our transformation, and it's nice to know that these holidays will be a lot more enjoyable and worthwhile. You know, the harder the journey or the road, a lot of times equals the bigger payoff, you know, and that's not always true, but I feel like in this case that really is what the cards and what this energy is telling us so far. So you can do it. Just keep moving. We still have a lot going on, and Mercury and Venus in Scorpio, you know, bringing out the best and worst of your relationships with the people around you and how you communicate. So there's still some stuff there that is challenging us. And Mars being squared to the really big stuff means that we're stepping outside of ourselves and seeing the big picture, the big work that needs to be done, and how it's not really about us right now. So know that there is a reason for all of that, and it's not always easy, but this will give us an opportunity to really relate to others and their experiences, and to join hands, because there's more power in numbers, right? There's more support. And so we need to make sure that we're taking the right people along with us that really want the best for us. Take care.